The zero factor, using education to increase Bitcoin's market cap. The 256 report starts now. Good morning. My name is John Taylor from the 256 report, and we're here to talk about the zero factor, how we can increase the value of Bitcoin, adding another zero, 10xing it so that it can reach new heights. We believe in our company that we can use education to educate the masses, connect with a larger audience so that there's more people involved in the Bitcoin community. Now, there's a lot of work to do as a community that we need to do to rebrand Bitcoin in general, to make it more inviting and welcoming for others who may not know all the intricacies of what a petahash is and how that converts into a megawatt and how much money you can make from that. So in Bitcoin mining, it's a complex set of equations. And to understand Bitcoin, although it is complex and a huge thing to try to explain to people, we can use different terminology and meet people where they're at so that we can explain it to them in terms that they know. So with any technology that happens, there's this wall that is run into when people explain how that technology works. The same thing happened with the cell phone and the internet and Airbnb and Uber. All of these disruptive technologies, as they made their way into the market, required a certain amount of education. Now, I'd like to use the Apple analogy. When Apple created the iPhone and the iPad, they set out to make something complicated very simple. And the way that they did that is they said, hey, the way that the phone works with all of these numbers and the way that you scroll through them and the menus, let's throw that all out and make something new. Let's make colorful buttons that you press and a bigger screen rather than a smaller screen and more buttons, a bigger screen and no buttons. So what they did is they threw out all of the things that were there, all of the technology that made cell phones what they were to that point, and then they created something new. And that's the way that all technology, all phones are made right now. They made that breakthrough, that step. Bitcoin needs a similar step, from going from that Motorola Razr that we all had many years ago, or that brick phone if you're really old like me, to the smartphone. How can we get there in explaining and making it more accessible? In Bitcoin, if we're able to do that, take that complicated thing of what is Bitcoin? How do you mine Bitcoin? Why is Bitcoin a good investment? And make a simple system for getting that information to a wider public, into more people's hands, there's going to be more investors. And if there's more investors, there's another zero. Bitcoin will stay the same and it'll go up a little bit until that widespread adoption happens. But to hit the goals of Michael Saylor, some of the things that he's talked about is that 95% of the people don't know what Bitcoin is. And if you go into Bitcoin mining, it's probably like 99% of the people in the world don't know what Bitcoin mining is. Bitcoin mining is a backbone, it's a foundation of the Bitcoin decentralization and the ethos, and it's a very important part. 100% of the people in the world do not need to know what Bitcoin mining is, but greater than 1%, or the amount of people that do, would need to know in order for Bitcoin to hit $1 million or $10 million or $13 million. And Michael Saylor talks about getting Bitcoin to $13 million. And the only way that we can do that is through conversations with a wider public in the terms and ways that they're going to understand it. So it's kind of complicated, but people learn in different ways. And a lot of people in the Bitcoin business or in the Bitcoin mining business, they tend to have a lot of similarities in the way that they learn and take in energy. They naturally grasp onto technology and technological ideas. The people who are outside, that 95%, do not. And so bridging that gap is where we can widen the audience. So here's a couple of ideas of how we can do that. One, I think coming up with a clear idea of what Bitcoin is. It is explained differently by 100 different people. If you go ask 100 different people, creating a brand and a narrative so people can easily understand that. We interviewed Bobby C. Lee in Nashville during the 2024 Bitcoin conference, and he has The Promise of Bitcoin. It's one of the best sellers on Amazon, and it talks a lot about Bitcoin. He described Bitcoin as the only non-replicable wealth asset that's ever been created. You can create more gold in the lab. You can definitely create more diamonds in a chamber. But with Bitcoin, there's only 21 million. There only will be. You can't find any more Bitcoin on the moon or across the universe. And we have all agreed that it has an intrinsic value, just as we have agreed that the treasury or the bank or the gold has a value. So that side of things, I can't dive into it, and there's people who are much smarter than I am. But the idea is to have a clear idea of what Bitcoin is so that when people ask, why should I invest in it, they can easily understand it. That description is good. I think it could be better. So that's one. The other is that there's a lot of adjacent technologies to Bitcoin. And if we disparage those adjacent technologies that are around Bitcoin and categorize all of them as shitcoins or as in bad, people who are outside of the technology sphere that we live in only see all of that as bad. They cannot decipher between Bitcoin and Ripple or Bitcoin and Ethereum. They see all of them as one thing. They don't understand that there's a difference. There's an education process that would need to take place in order to decipher what is what. It doesn't mean that everything in the category of not Bitcoin is good. I think what happens is when we are talking to other people, the language that we use to describe one technology that they may not be able to decipher from the other is, it's hard for them to discern. It's like saying everything on the internet is porn, which is not true. Porn is a bad thing that is on the internet, and it used to be everything was porn, but now there is all kinds of other things, and there is really great technologies besides porn. The third thing I would say may be controversial. Bitcoin is a silo. So we like to have that technology and we like to say that we know this and the other people don't. It gives us a sense of power or authority knowing that we have the inside scoop on it and those people don't know. And so there are people who just don't want the other 95% to be involved in Bitcoin because they look at it as some type of power or energy that they hold over the other people, and that makes them feel better. So Bitcoin becomes $13 million or $1 million or $10 million when that sphere of influence is widened. The circle of trust, as Robert De Niro once said. So when we can reach more people and make it less conflicting, less frictiony, and more welcoming, then that widespread adoption can happen. So I bet I pissed a few people off in saying some of this stuff, and I think that some of what I said is controversial. I'm around Bitcoin Maxis and Bitcoin extremists, fanatics, and people who are just casually into it, and everyone in between. We meet a lot of Bitcoin people. And I can understand that what I say in this video is definitely going to create stir up some emotions. So I'd love to hear what they are. I'd love to hear your comments of how you feel. What is the solution to getting Bitcoin to $1 million, $10 million, $13 million? How can we reach more people? How can we encourage and inspire widespread adoption. I look forward, I'm challenging you to do it. Put a comment below and let's have a conversation of how we can move forward faster and make Bitcoin with one more zero. And that's the zero factor on the 256 report, and I'll see you tomorrow.